I step back into trying to be the very best ambassador I know how to be, and I have to lean on the Spirit to do that. It's not of my own will. It's of His work in me. And so then I look to Jesus to see how to be an ambassador. And then sometimes in life, I look to people around me to see who's an example of being an ambassador of Jesus. And this morning, I'm going to invite someone up to the stage. Ray, if you'll come on up. And him talk about how he is living his life as an ambassador for Jesus. So Ray and I have been friends for a long time, and we've become even closer friends because he's part of our Wednesday morning Chick-fil-A 6 o'clock Bible study. A few weeks ago, or several months ago, he started telling me about some of the things that he's doing in his life, and it just inspired me. And so this morning, as I was thinking about this message, it's easy to talk about wanting to be ambassadors, but it's really good to see somebody who's being an ambassador. So Ray, several weeks ago, we were talking about this, and you talked about how that the way you loved changed the way you started seeing people. So would you tell us how you got to that place where the way you loved started to change?
Okay, basically what happened was when we did the study in the adult Bible classes on the Beatitudes, it began to change how I saw my own spirituality. And I realized that my spirituality was not in my head through and through. It was just in my behavior. And that I needed to change what my mind thought after thought after thought, to become like Christ. And as a part of that, I discovered in the Right Now video series, or Right Now app, or whatever it is, a website, I guess, that there was a series of videos, and it came with books and workbooks that were on how to follow Jesus, how to become more like Jesus, and do the things that Jesus did. And so I worked through that process, read the books, and 2 books, and a workbook, and watched the videos. And it changed my whole outlook to see people differently, to see my ministry differently. I had always tried to do some good things, but this was different. And so I began to live that ministry, which included praying more. It included being more conscious of what I thought, who I talked to, how I related to people. And so I then began to look for ways to do the things Jesus did. Pray more, be more spiritual, get away from things, spend quiet time, all the things that Christ did that are told about throughout, especially the Gospels, and follow those things.
And what I love about that, and it changed him. And that thing's called practicing the way. Practicing the way is amazing. So what he's talking about is he stepped into his discipleship of prayer, study, loving people. I mean, you thought, man, I've got to deepen my spirituality, and I love that. So practicing the way, it's on Right Now Media. We can let you know how to get in there. Then you started to change the way that you did life. And how did that start? He's got a ministry over here at Willie's Ice House. It's awesome, right? You can have ministry at a restaurant. So tell us how that started at Willie's.
Well, we ever since we started coming to West Houston 6 years ago, we got together after second service with our friends Dan and Marcia Bailey, who we'd known in Lubbock for years. And they had moved here first, and then we moved here later following Christy and our son, and to be around the grandkids. And so we ended up here at West Houston, where Christy worships, has for years. We visited for years. This is the logical place for us to place our membership, so we did. And so after second service, we started going to Willie's and just eating lunch, and then sitting a lot of times and visiting for an hour or so, and then leaving and going about our business the rest of Sunday. But I started noticing the waitresses there. And one of them at that time, her father was going through a need for a hip replacement, but he weighed too much, and it took him a couple of years to get his weight down where the doctors would actually replace his hip. And during that time, I asked the waitress, "Can I pray for your dad?" And she said, "Yeah." And so I started praying for him. And then after I kind of deepened my spirituality a few months ago, I realized I've been praying for her dad. I can pray for any of the employees here at Willie's. And so I'd just go up to them with a blank 4x6 note card and hand it to them and say, "I'm starting a ministry praying for employees that work here. Would you like me to pray for you?" And one said no. All the rest of them said yeah. So I started praying, and I would update those prayer cards every now and then. Several of them have multiple prayer cards that they filled up front and back of things that I need to pray for about them. Others just would write their name and not know what to pray for. And so I would pray for just them in general.
What's really cool is we met there on Monday, and he's got a stack this big. 30 cards for Willie's, but stacks of others. And what has happened, it was so fun I felt like I was with a rock star. Goes, "Hey, Mr. A, hey, Mr. A, hey, thanks for your prayers." The guy that's bussing the tables gave him a fist pump. I mean, everybody knew him, and I was like, man, this feels good. But it's because he's chosen to pray for them. And then you've prayed for who else now? You've expanded that to who?
Yeah, anybody that I see regularly in the community, like our house is across the street from all the metal mailboxes for that end of the neighborhood. And so I've gotten to know the lady that delivers mail there. And so she asked me to pray for her and her son. And then I regularly take my car to the same place to be serviced. And the receptionist there asked me to pray for her. She was pregnant at the time and was having some heart trouble and was wearing a monitor. And so I prayed for her through that. And then the baby came and don't need for the heart monitor anymore, but I'm praying for her and her family and her relationships outside. It just grows as you get to know these people. They give you more and more to pray about.
And so he's being like, when I think about an ambassador, right? Putting in a good word for the kingdom, I love that. Now, so we have this is our last story. We're good. But
okay.
Chick-fil-A, we've got one of the managers there who has started, and tell us how you've ministered to one of the ministers at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, we go through the line right at 6 o'clock, and so there's not a whole lot of people working in there at that time. And so the same guy would wait on us week after week, and I kind of got to know him and found out he was in the National Guard, which is, I spent 8 years in the Army Reserves. And so we had that connection, and we'd talk about that. And then as he watched us come in every week and gather back in the corner to have our Bible study, he'd say, "What are y'all doing back there?" And so I said, "We're just going through the Bible. We started in a book, and we'll go through the book and then pick another book and go through that book." And he said, "Would that be something I could join?" And so he's the person that does the scheduling. He's gotten promoted to be like some sort of assistant manager. And so he makes the schedule. So he schedules himself to go in later so that he can meet with us. So he started coming to meet with us.
And what's really cool is, yes, amen. What I love about that is I didn't think to ask the guy to join us. I didn't think to develop a relationship with him. Ray did. And the beautiful thing is he's part of our text thread. And a few weeks ago, we always say, "Hey, who's going to be there in the morning? Who's going to be there?" Chris texted, "Hey, who's going to be there in the morning?" "I'm there." We don't know, but I'm telling you, I believe because he started deepening of his faith and his discipleship through study, through prayer, through seeking Jesus. God called him to do something, to start praying for people. He answered the call. People are seen and known because he stepped out and said, I want to put in a good word for Jesus. I want to pray for you. And now Chris is part of our Bible study, and I didn't see it. And so what I love is Ray has been an example to me. Sometimes we can preach a sermon, but sometimes I want to see a sermon. And so, Ray, thank you so much, man. I love you, dude. Thank you for that.